Hello people, welcome back to the channel. It was a while ago that I saw the trailer for Bandish Bandits, and while it was not a bad trailer, it wasn't really that impressive. It just seemed like another typical masala-fied love story with some classical music thrown in. The trailer was also dominated by Tamanna, and although she looked suitably glamorous, even if it was a bit reminiscent of Kiara Advani from Guilty, there was just too much of a typical but forgettable rom-com kind of a vibe. The presence of Naseeruddin Shah and Atul Kulkarni lent it some much needed credibility, but it was eminently forgettable. I watched it and promptly ignored it. I never thought I would see it again. And then somehow I came across Vera on YouTube. I think it is probably because it was being discussed a lot on Twitter. I heard it, I quite liked it, but I was still not convinced that I should watch this series. And then I heard Garage Garage. This was in Pandit Ajay Chakraborty's voice. Now, I'm not going to pretend that I knew him before this song. I like classical and I like classical based numbers. A few of these numbers, like from the Wadali brothers, are also in my playlist. However, I do prefer the clean studio recorded sound for my music, especially if you are trying to hear music on a good set of speakers. Most of the classical music numbers are these recordings of live performances, and the sound is pretty adulterated and it doesn't really hold my attention for too long. But there was something in Garage Garage. The maturity of the voice, the weight that was there in it, the low notes, the sitar. It was all mesmerizing. Despite all the chatter about Vira, I actually preferred Garage Garage, and as soon as I heard it, I thought I should make a start on this series. And what a start it was. It could not have been more different to what the trailer had suggested the series will be like. The early morning, the door opening by Naseeruddin Shah, and the Jago Mohan Pyare being sung by the students. The little mistakes from the students, Radhe's feeling of being in competition, his subtle expressions betraying his insecurity, his disappointment when his voice cracks at the high note. And then the absolute shock and horror when this guy in pink goes into falsetto and Naseeruddin Shah's reaction.
कल से मत आना.
This was enough to hook me, and I finished the series in a couple of settings. I think it was a great start. It told you everything about the series, why you should watch it, everything that the trailer did not do. The trailer sold a completely different kind of package. I am pretty sure that some people like me would have dismissed it as just another trailer, just another series. We have plenty of these on the regular TV, and there wasn't really any reason for you to get interested in this. However, those like me who ultimately ended up in the series were in for a treat. There were many moments that were extremely well acted and well staged. Tamanna and her friend making fun of classical music.
You know, Indian classical music, it sounds like someone strangling a goat. Yeah.
I am sure many of us have heard someone say disparaging things about classical music, Radhe hitting the high note and immediately realizing what he has achieved. Tamanna staring at him unblinking as her view about classical music has changed in a short sequence. The absolute silence and then the lilting background score comes up. There were many other moments like this one which are so well acted, and I think assembling a competent cast can make or break any content, whether it is film or TV. And especially the second tier characters, not just the leading man and the leading lady. You have to assemble actors which will play their role well, no matter how short it is, because that is what determines in my eyes the quality of a series. The second tier characters can make or break a series or a movie. And although there is a good story behind it and music is the main attraction of it, it is these characters that make this series what it is. These are just some of the characters and actors that I've picked up on that deserve to be mentioned in any review. Overall in the series, Naseeruddin Shah doesn't have a lot to do, but in key moments he shows why he's such an accomplished actor. His stern demeanor with the students, his disappointment when a student hits falsetto, and the feeling of pride when Radhe runs in and hits the high notes. It's very subtle. There is no over-the-top loud professing of what he is feeling, but you're not left in any doubt as to what exactly he is feeling at that moment. He conveys it really well. Sheba Chadda, now as Radhe's mother, throughout the series she is a presence in the background, rarely saying anything or attracting attention to her character. She's just there. And it would have been very easy to dismiss her, except that she does little things like catching the rhythm, advising Radhe during Shuddhikaran. Initially it does strike as a mother's loving gestures. It was only later that she completely shocked me with the revelation of who she really is. No spoilers in this one. If you have watched it, you know what I'm talking about. If you haven't, you do really need to go through the full series to see the actual impact of that revelation. Kunal Roy Kapoor as Arghya. Now you might dismiss Kunal Roy Kapoor as Arghya as this side character who is just reprising his foul-mouthed self from Delhi Belly. But there is no one else who can deliver such filthy dialogue without making you cringe. In the whole series, the dialogue writers have also done a commendable job. Each character is from a different world. Some are from Bombay, some are from Rajasthan. Some are royalty, some are commoners. Each character, they have their own distinct vocabulary, they have a distinct way of speaking and using the language, and it comes across very clearly. Whether it is the old school Pandit Radhe Mohan, the young Radhe, his friend who is constantly pulling his leg,
और अपनी गली में भौंकने से कुत्ता शेर नहीं बन जाता.
the modern Tamanna or the foul-mouthed Arghya. They don't all speak like each other. Now, we have seen that quite a lot recently on the OTT platforms, like series like Mirzapur and Sacred Games. I think there is a little bit of an overhang of Gangs of Wasseypur, where almost everyone in the series or a movie has the same vocabulary, they speak the same way. But here, there are different worlds that come together, and the dialogue writers have done a very good job of keeping them separate, not making them like each other. Shreya Chaudhary as Tamanna did the best that her role allowed her to do. Aesthetically, she fits the part, although she looked better in the relatively makeup-free looks compared to the overly made-up scenes. I'm not entirely sure if this is a debut role, but if it is, it's an excellent debut, especially when you compare it with what most other characters on TV are like. There isn't a lot on offer. Most of those are like devoid of any personality or scope. So this is a really good debut. I think she did her part really well. However, the person who surprised me the most and who was the most impressive in the whole series was Ritwik Bhaumik as Radhe. Now, this man can definitely act. He was just so natural, so likable in his character. In fact, he was the most convincing as a classical singer in my view, and that is saying a lot when there are stalwarts like Nasiruddin Shah and Atul Kulkarni there in the same show, doing the same kind of things. But Radhe was the most convincing. If you've seen any other reviews from me, you know what's coming. Now, the series is not perfect, and certain things strike as hastily included, or they don't really contribute anything of significance to the story. And the first of these is Radhe's fiancé. Now, apart from adding a female sung classical number, her track I felt was a waste of time. The actor who played this role did well in her limited role, but the character itself, apart from adding some half-baked controversy, it didn't really contribute much to the story. Radhe's father playing the Pakhavaj also didn't really work. Throughout the series, one of the things that was done really well was the lip sync and the mannerisms of a classical singer, the hand movements, the facial expressions. There is actually a whole video that shows all the work that went in behind this, like teaching them how to express themselves and look like classical singers. Now, considering all of that work, the Pakhavaj playing, it seemed totally out of sync. In a normal series, that I wouldn't have paid attention to that, but I think because everything else was done so well and it could be clearly seen on the screen, this one didn't really work. The Raja's character also appeared a little bit inconsistent. I mean, does he care about Nasiruddin Shah's character or not? His response to the need for his treatment was a little bit inconsistent. It was all over the place. Now, overall, the climax of the whole series is done really well. I think it went on an upward curve, and it was a fitting finale to the whole series. But in the second round of Sangeet Samrat, when Radhe is singing Lab Parai, for such a big occasion, I would have expected his character to outdo himself, but this version that he sings here in this important competition, it just seemed half-hearted. I think not a lot of importance was also paid to it, so that was a bit of a letdown. Having spoken about the characters, what really makes this series special is the music. The multitude of songs that are included in this one, they're some of the best I've heard in recent times, big screen or small. Shankar Ehsaan Loy have totally outdone themselves. Also, it's not just the main songs. Every piece that is part of this series, it's so special. Like Radhesh Shuddhikaran piece, when the young Shiba Chadda she's singing a brief number from when she is in a competition. No spoilers again. They were all outstanding. I think even the theme song, that is so well done. The choice of singers was also superb. I think the voice suits the occasions and the numbers so well. The choice of songs at different points in the story, that is also very apt. It flows seamlessly with the story. Radhe attending the party with Tamanna and then getting the feel right for Lab Par Aaye. Atul Kulkarni using Garaj Garaj, which is Nasiruddin Shah's signature piece. He picks up a number that Nasiruddin Shah is known for, and he's trying to stamp his authority and showcase his superiority over Radhe. And this happened throughout the series. Even the songs that are not mentioned, they blend very well with the storyline. At a cursory glance, there is not a lot of depth to the story, and a different treatment would have given us yet another formulaic mini-series. However, using classical music as the central tenet of the story is what makes this unique. It's unmistakably Indian. This hasn't been used much, if at all, for TV or music, and especially something like this being set in present times, that's quite unique. And I wouldn't be surprised if I find out that the makers and also Amazon Prime, they were not really sure whether this will work or not, and that's why they tried to fit a lot of formulaic things in it. That's probably why the trailer was like what it was. But once you get past that trailer and you get into the series, you realize that this is truly a gem of a series. Thanks to OTT platforms like Prime, the small screen content in India is once again becoming a lot better. It's getting out from the abyss that Ekta Kapoor and her ilk have pushed it into. The reach of OTT platforms is still limited, and the prime-time live TV content is still atrocious. But series like this one, they give the audience a taste of what they can get, what is possible, and I think in time it will force the mainstream TV to get better as well. There is definitely a competition going on for making India-specific content, and there is a huge market to be captured. Netflix fired the first salvo with Sacred Games. It was the first truly well-made small-screen blockbuster in a long time. At least the first season was. Amazon tried to follow it up with Mirzapur, and while that has its own die-hard fans, but both Sacred Games and Mirzapur, they packaged what was actually a good story. They packaged it with explicit language and scenes. It did mark a clean and very significant break from the stale, overexposed makeup and jewelry clad setups of the daily soaps, and I think it was deployed as a shock factor, but it did what it was supposed to do to attract the viewers and create a fan base. However, with Patal Lok, to some extent, and definitely with The Family Man, Amazon Prime has taken a clear lead in India-specific content. To some extent, they were still kind of the same shock and awe genre, but this Bandish Bandits, this marks a seminal point in the revival of small screen. I hope that the success of this will give them some confidence, and whenever the second season comes out, it will focus a lot more on the content of this one, and there will be no more gimmicks, no more parts that really brought the story down, and it'll be a lot more crisper. I will definitely be looking forward to watching it. Let me know what you thought of it if you have watched it already. What was your favorite number? Was there anything I said about the series that you don't agree with? Write it down in the comments below. This is the first content from the small screen that I've reviewed. If there are any others that you want me to check out, do write it down in the comments below. I'm always looking forward to your recommendations. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel and share this video with your friends and family. Until next time, bye bye.